Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tay Radio Marin. My name is Levi Rivera, and I'm an intern here at the Multicultural Center of Marin. Today's topic is about empowering students to lead, and we are here with a guest, Alexandre Verheecke, also known at SR as Ms.Verheecke. So could everyone please go around and share their names and where they attend school / where they teach?
Hi, my name is Briza, and I attend San Rafael High School.
Hi, my name is Avani, and I also attend San Rafael High School.
Nice. And I'm Alexandre Verheecke, and this is my 10th year teaching at San Rafael High.
And my name is Levi again, and I also go to SR. So before we open up and talk amongst each other, I'd just like to ask a little icebreaker question. So the icebreaker question is, sorry guys, what is a career you wanted to pursue when you were smaller?
I wanted to be an circus acrobat. I've always been very obsessed with the circus, especially clowns. I have this weird obsession with clowns. And also it just felt so freeing. Everything flying into the air and just doing so many stuff that seemed very difficult. I felt like that was something very freeing, so I've always wanted to do that.
Oh, should I go?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like as a kid, I always wanted to be a veterinarian because growing up, I didn't really have pets and I was kind of jealous of kids who had pets. So I'm I want to work with pets personally and help them get better and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I feel like, how much smaller. When I was in high school, I wanted to go work in finance because I thought that would, making money would kind of bring my family out of poverty. And so I had this, I didn't really know what exactly, but I was kind of interested in economics. And so, but that doesn't sound as exciting as, as your jobs. What about you, Levi?
I think when I was little, small, I wanted to be a nurse because I would watch Doc McStuffins all the time. And it's not that far away from what I still want to do. I still want to go into the medical field. But I think, a nurse and cartoons, I guess, would dictate a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Yeah. We're going to jump into the first question now. So I wanted to ask you, Ms. Verheecke, what inspired you to become a teacher and what impact do you hope to have on your students through your work?
Yeah. So I made a career change when I was in my late 20s into teaching. And I first started as a coach on the cross-country team. So I was working in finance in San Francisco, and then I would come coach when the markets closed in the afternoon. So I had time to come over. And working with teenagers, I thought I was going to be I'm helping these kids out and they're going to be so grateful that I'm so helpful. They're going to appreciate my volunteering. And they were totally who are you? And what are you doing here? And we do not need you to run with us. And so it was kind of this awakening to the fact that I don't need to save anyone. I'm here to in that case I was coaching, but maybe there's something that I can do to inspire people, but that it was more about getting to know them as people and then figure out how running could be a vehicle for getting to know themselves better and achieve more. And so I think that's what kind of inspired me. I was way more passionate about that than my job at the time. And so I talked to my former U.S. history teacher at SR, and she was like, do it, become a teacher.
Aww.
And she got me connected to somebody who could tell me, what I needed to do. And so it was kids who inspired me, but not in the way that I thought.
That's very interesting. But I was wondering, because you did say that you didn't get the feedback that you thought you were going to get, right?
Mm-hmm.
What keeps you going, right? Because despite the lack of recognition from students, why do you keep on teaching?
Yeah, well, I think even then, seeing seeing kids like have a goal, and then, you know, in running, it's really like concrete. They want to get faster and win races and things like that. And so seeing them like work towards that, and even if they don't want me to help them, like, you know, me helping them along the way and kind of like breaking it down for them. And then seeing them recognize their own strength and their own like ability to improve, that's like the best. You know, like I don't always personally need the recognition or the thanks or whatever. It's more like the transformation that's so powerful.
Thank you so much. And alongside that, how do you think that you would describe your teaching philosophy when it comes to empowering students to be able to like make that transformative change or the change that you want to see?
Yeah. So I think like my biggest goal as a teacher is to help students see their own power and their own agency, and to be like community change makers, to go out and do things to make their voices heard, to change something that they want to be, that they wish was different in their community, to maybe help their family, whatever it is that like they're passionate about, right? We all have our own like thing that we care about. And sometimes you don't know it yet. Sometimes it takes some time. But my philosophy is just to help students have the tools and the confidence to go out and do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like that's so like important, because I feel like a lot of kids see issues within like the community, or like they're dealing with the issues themselves, but they feel like they can't make any change, which is totally not true, right? It's just we need someone like you, for example, or any teacher or like a person in their life to just give them that little push, I feel like.
Yeah. And hopefully like work together to see the power of, you know, as you come together with other people, that you by yourself it's hard. But when you work with your friends and your classmates or colleagues, there's a lot of power in numbers, and you can do a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when like as like having you as a teacher, I think like through like student activism or advocacy, you know, that class very much changed so much of my perspective, and I'm so sad that it got like, you know, canceled, because I think I think I got a lot from it, you know, and it wasn't, I think, just like the classroom setting, like just being in a classroom, like, because normally I'm like, oh, I'll go to school and I'll get stuff done, you know. I was really excited to go to that class, and you know, every morning I'd wake up and be like, oh, like, let's go. And I think that's something really powerful as a teacher, having to, you know, well, not having to, but having that, like, I guess, power to be able to like make a kid like feel good about going to school, you know, because I was like, I'm not excited for every class. I'm excited to go to school sometimes, you know, see my friends, you know, for a class. It's like fun. Yeah.
That's great. And I know we're talking about college, and I know it's a big thing, but when you get there, I think that's also like, you'll feel a lot more of that when you get a lot more choice. High school is hard because there are a lot of classes you have to take. So yeah. But thank you for saying that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed having you in class, and that class was really fun. Yeah.
I would like to ask a question. How do you personally engage in activism or advocacy, and how does that sort of influence the way that you teach your students?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, I try to stay informed about what's going on in our world and community. It's hard to like know what to change if you don't know what's happening. So I try to do that. And then I try to incorporate news and like media literacy in my class so that students are doing that too. And then for like how to change things, I think I'm like figuring that out too. Like I don't know if I have it figured out. Like what does that look like for me? But getting to know people in the community, you know, maybe attending a protest or something like that feels doable right now. Talking to neighbors, like getting the word out. I think there's a lot of power in just like talking to people around you in your space, in your sphere, that maybe they're politically engaged, but maybe they're not. And then when you like break things down and explain things and then show how they could take an, specific action, whatever it is, I think that's activism too. I think that's really important. And so having students have those conversations in class is something that I try to foster so that they're talking about these things regularly and practicing that.
You said later on that you just like find information. Could you explain a little bit more about the like how do you find information? Where do you go to find where protests are being taken and all that?
Yeah, I try to follow different news sources. So I, kind of big, well-known newspapers. And I try my best to go and look at why along the political spectrum. So I'm not just seeing kind of one side of issues. But I tend to read different major news sites. And then also the Marin Independent Journal is like our local newspaper. I think that's really important to know what's going on locally. And, to be honest, I'm on social media. And, people share news on social media. So I, of course, I'm going to see things on there as well. And then protests, I think there's various, political groups that organize in the area who I try to follow, and individual activists who are in the community who I also follow and who will, get the word out as things are organized.
We need more teachers like you, I think, that get more involved. So that's what you do is very good because I feel like there's some teachers that don't really want to get involved in helping, especially like their students and stuff like that, right? So it's teachers like you shape students in a different way.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. And I just want to say that I have a lot of privilege. I live in San Rafael, which is no small thing, on a teacher's salary. That's a big deal. A lot of teachers live really far away because they can't afford to live here. So I think there's that aspect. They're driving really far to work every day. And, I have that flexibility. I'm not having to work an extra job and things like that. So I hear you. And I think there are some teachers who are doing a lot that you might not see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like adding on to what Briza said, like I feel like when kids see, or any student, they see a teacher that is able to like speak up on such important modern day issues, right? Or even things in the past, it kind of like shows them that it's okay to talk about like these taboo topics or like political things, because I feel like they affect us every single day. We have every single right to talk about it, right? So I feel like just seeing somebody like that is the first step,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You are right, though, Ms. Verheecke. Teachers should get paid more, actually. There needs to be some change on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think adding on to what Briza was saying and Avani, like I think personally that teachers have like the most important job. They're shaping the next generation. It's a really, really important job, and I don't think many people see that. But I mean, like, there's so many teachers in SR that like bring so much hope to students, and it's just like so nice to like be around and like have a relationship with your teacher. Like it's always like really nice to just have like that support system, and it's like functional on both sides. And it's something that's also like I'm really grateful for, especially at SR. It's nice.
Yeah. And I think you three are really good at cultivating that and building those relationships. And that skill is going to serve you throughout life. So keep that up.
I guess I can ask another question. So as someone who kind of primarily teaches government and politics and like ethnic studies, what kind of issues or particular events have been on your mind recently?
Yeah. Like what hasn't?
No, literally.
Literally. I mean, this is a big week for San Francisco and the Bay Area. And for what I know, so many of our students, even if it's not front of mind, it's like in the back of their minds, like what is possible. So yeah, the potential federal government action in the Bay Area with, Border Patrol coming in, that has been on my mind, and how it just really evokes fear in a lot of students, even if it's not for them, it's, maybe for their families or people they know. So that's really been the biggest thing. But then also, like, with the federal government shutdown and SNAP benefits, for kids who are receiving food assistance, thankfully we still have free breakfast and lunch at school, but, on the weekends, what might that look like for them? It's a heavy time. And that's, immediate, like this week, next week. But there's other kind of bigger things too around, we talk a lot about identity and ethnic studies and just the narratives around identity, and just, being a little concerned for students who might feel like they can't fully be themselves in life. And it's a tricky time for, I think, a lot of young people who are trying to get to know themselves. So those are some things that have been on my mind.
Since you work a lot with people of different races and everything, with everything that's going on right now, what are the biggest changes you've noticed in students?
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed in students, but also in adults, is like the disconnection, the like, wanting to go on their phones more, and like just seemingly like not able to like fully be present and just be natural in themselves, and just wanting to kind of avoid. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you guys notice that too?
Like disassociating a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I think, I don't know.
I mean, I do too. Like, I don't mean it as a criticism. I just think that like we're all kind of stressed out, and then it's like, instead of, connecting more, which I think would make us all feel better, we kind of go to our phones or go into our little isolated spots.
I feel like that's very true. Like, I can see how, like, I feel like in such a kind of dangerous political climate right now, it's like you're kind of questioning, like, I mean, this sounds kind of dramatic, but it's not really. It's like people are questioning what's going to happen tomorrow, like, and it's like it's easy for anybody to just disassociate, and like it's kind of hard to accept, like, this is our reality, like that's happening to our federal government, like everything is slowly falling apart. It's like you kind of don't want to live in the moment, even though that is something we have to do, but it's like it's really hard, honestly.
Yeah, that's really, really well articulated. Yeah.
Since you do like go to protests and all that stuff, right? And you have a close connection with many students. And you did say that there was like fear and all that stuff. How would you recommend people to fight against what's going on, or like even fear in itself?
Yeah.
Like fight back against that.
Yeah. I mean, this is like the question is like, how do we resist if there's something that we don't want, whatever it is that we don't want in a society? I think, I mean, first of all, I think for young people, it's like, taking care of yourself. And if it's like you can't live in the moment and you're just getting by, like, that's okay. First of all, or maybe ask for help. I think that's like a good thing to start doing. But I think for people who are ready to like take action and that might make them feel better, I think connecting with other students and having those conversations, even when it might feel awkward, but just like starting to talk about that, and then find your people. Like, I bet you all talk about this kind of thing, right? You found your people. And so I think the more that you do that, you will figure out ways. But then, I'm also a history teacher. So go to history and look at what students have done. We talked about the LA walkouts in class today. I'm always like, I can't believe that doesn't happen more.
Definitely.
I'm not encouraging you to walk out of school. I want you to be in school, but you know what I mean? Like, there are ways that there are 1,300 students at SR, and that could be a really powerful group of people to talk about anything. A common thing that kids talk about is rent in Marin and how unaffordable it is. And I was like, what would happen if students really spoke out against that and demanded some sort of, I don't know what it is, right? But, it's whatever students want, but coming together and taking that action, I think could be really powerful.
Yeah, I think especially in high school, it could be kind of difficult to like connect with other people. But then, like, I think it is possible. It's just really difficult to get to that point, I guess, for some people, or to like want to accept that sometimes, like, we should rely on each other just a little bit, just for some hope, especially right now. And overall, I think it took me especially like a long time to like notice that, I have my own community around me, and, I should be present in it. And I think people or students just need a little bit of a push, the way anyone should, to want to engage, I guess.
I feel like students kind of underestimate the power that they have, or like just the youth in general, right? 'Cause I feel
Totally.
like you see so many like movements in the past where like young people have like, I don't know the word, but they've come together to fight for a common issue. And it does really make an impact. And I feel like there should be a way for more students at our school to see that, right? Which I feel like is another reason why subjects such as ethnic studies or just these political classes are so important,
Yeah, I agree.
I also wanted to ask you, what do you think your thoughts are on the role of teachers and schools in helping students understand and respond to current political issues?
Well, I know in my classroom, I try to give students time to talk about the news a little bit and start to form their ideas about it. And so, yeah, I think learning the history will help students to understand the present. So I think, that is literally like why you take social studies classes and history classes. And your English class is going to help you with how to communicate that, and your social studies class too, of course. So I think you're getting a lot of like the building blocks and the foundation so that you can make sense of what's going on, right? But I do think that there should be more systematic blocks, like, foundation in school for you to make your voice heard. Like if it's a student senate, or, I was trying to make that happen with student advocacy, so that students, it's like, this is institutionally, this school is telling you that you have a voice and it's important. That's, I think, my dream for the school to have more of that.
Going on from that, we know that you work closely with newcomer students, right? What has that experience been like for you?
Yeah, well, I do work with students who are still learning English. I teach the government and economics class, so they're usually in their second or third year of English. So they're not I don't know if they're technically newcomers, but yeah. My favorite part about teaching those classes is that it is, it's really, as a teacher, it's really interesting to think about teaching a language and the content at the same time. And so coming up with like strategies and methods, I think is fun. It's really hard, but it's really fun and like intellectually engaging. And, students in ELD tend to be like, I don't know how to say this, but it's so fun. We just have so much fun. And it's like, I usually laugh the most in those classes. They'll tease me the most. Like, we just have a rapport that, for whatever reason, in my other classes, it's just a little bit harder to get to. And I don't know what that is, but it's just really fun. And I get to use my Spanish, which is fun, because otherwise I wouldn't practice it as much. So it's still not good. I'm always like, when you're 38 years old, you're going to be so much better at English than I am at Spanish right now.
How does it like mainly like walk us through a teaching class on it? Like what are your main like subjects?
Well, right now we're in government, so we're like doing, the branches of government, and we're talking about like the legislative branch. So they're like researching an influential person in Congress. So they're kind of exploring like what, the two houses and committees and kind of learning about all of that. And so I know it's a lot, they're learning so many things on top of the language. So sometimes my students are like really overwhelmed, but then they often surprise themselves by how much they can do. So
I dare say that history class is like one of the most important classes there is, especially government class, because you should know your rights, right? Especially with even like with everything that's going on, but even apart from that, it's still very important to know your rights. So
yeah,
it's very good that you teach.
I'm glad that you know that, and I'm glad you're recognizing that. That's my goal.
I'm
right?
memorizing my amendments right now. So
Good.
Yeah.
Are you in AP?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think we all are.
Oh, it's all making sense now.
As a teacher who teaches such a diverse group of students, this might be a very broad question, but what are some changes that you personally think that there should be in the curriculum or improvements for the history classes, ethnic studies, things of that sort?
Yeah. I don't know if I have specific changes that I would make in particular. I think the biggest thing is that I wish I just had more time with students, especially ethnic studies is a 1-semester class, and just given the like time frame of 4 years and the other classes, it backs up to health class, which is also incredibly important. So I don't know how to make it work, but I wish that I had a year with them, and then I would be able to like fit in more. I would like to teach more about histories of different ethnic groups, and just talk a little bit more about identity, so people I think had more time to process it. But yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Going on track with that, I've just wondered, why did you decide to teach ethnic studies? Like, what was the reason behind it?
I really I like teaching freshmen. I like teaching freshmen and seniors because I think the transition years are so interesting. And so it's the 9th grade course. And then I like teaching about identity. I think it's so important. And then when I was learning about this, and then like we were kind of creating the course, we were talking with somebody who created ethnic studies in another district, and his big thing that he taught was about narratives, about dominant and counter narratives, if you remember that. It's okay if you don't. And just like these single stories that get told about people, and that we all have our truth, and that we need to share our counter narratives to kind of combat those stereotypes. And I think that is just so powerful for literally everyone. And that really spoke to me. And so I really wanted to do that. But I think giving students some of that framework to then see how they can be change makers, that's what really made me want to teach that class.
Do you believe that this, the teaching about dominant and counter narratives, do you think that should be introduced to students at an earlier age?
Yeah. I mean, I talk to my own kids about it, maybe not in those terms, but like, oh, somebody says this about you, but what's your truth? How do you share what is true for you? I think kids encounter that immediately, or the single stories of like, what makes you a boy versus a girl, or what, if you like a certain sport, or, there's so many things that they get even in early elementary school. So, yeah, my dream would be that elementary schools are talking about it so that kids feel confident in being themselves, regardless of the like, before you don't even have to talk about some of the more taboo things. It's just basic stuff of people not feeling like they have to be someone else.
You said that like you said something about teaching about like identity, right?
Mhm.
And going on track with that, what does your ethnic studies or STI curriculum teach students about, identity, culture, and empowerment?
Yeah, so we go over some basic categories of identity around like identities that you can't change exactly: race, ethnicity, nationality, social class, and a little bit about culture, although we don't have enough time. So I wish I could do more on culture. And then we do some case studies around some different things that have happened in the past, like Mendez v. Westminster, when the family in Southern California sued the Westminster School District for racial segregation and desegregated the state of California. So looking at those case studies to see how people have resisted things and made change. That's an example of something we teach.
I think that's really empowering in itself. Just like the topics of like bringing those up, especially like I think in government, I think like I think we were saying like government is really important, but it also is just to like know this like when you, I feel like it's also really powerful for your teacher to be able to like talk about those things in confidence, and not make it seem like a taboo, because it shouldn't be, and it isn't a taboo.
Yeah.
And I think I just believe that it's great that you involve so many things like case studies in your curriculum. It's really inspiring.
Good.
Well,
Thank you.
you've been a really good role model for many students, including me, right? On my freshman year, I feel like you helped me the most. But going on from that, I wanted to ask, how do you want people to perceive you as a person or as a teacher, right? And what do you do to help empower other students or help them find their voice?
Yeah. I don't, just to answer the first part, like, I have no control over how people perceive me. So like, that's on them. I'm just doing my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then your second question was,
So like, how do you
here?
help people students find their voice, man?
I think sometimes it's a little tricky as a teacher. Like there's so many different personalities and ways that can work. Like what works for one student doesn't work for another. So sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's like connecting with everyone, which is really hard to do when I have, 150 students. But I try to like see you and see like, what is it that could help? Is it like, cheering you on for doing something well? Is it connecting you with like a peer who I think you might connect with and become friends with? Is it, whatever it is, like I try to figure out how I can do something even small and then over time kind of build on it, and just help build your confidence.
Okay. Since you teach many students, like you said, right? What are some of the issues you see many students have, going on with the whole government and stuff like that, or the fears that they have?
What do I see? What issues do I see?
What are some of the most common issues you see, especially with STI students, coming into a new place? What are some of the things they struggle the most with?
Oh yeah. I think a big one is attending school regularly, because they're having to work a lot. They're having to support family members, maybe send money home, potentially taking care of younger kids. I think they just have so much responsibility on them that then school is so hard to also do. Plus, they've met so many students have had a gap in their education. So they might have finished elementary school, but then that's it. Fifth grade might have been the last time they went to school. And then they're coming back in 9th or 10th grade. So it's, they're faced with a lot of challenges. And then sometimes they have all those challenges and they're just thriving and doing so well. So there's so much resilience in the we kind of say like ELD or SEDI community. So it just kind of depends on the student. But those are some of the biggest things, is that they have so much that they're taking on. And I know you all do have a lot too.
Also, to like ask a question, or like I wanted to ask a question about like newcomer students. Like I think especially like in student advocacy, like, that was a class where like a lot of like newcomers and like I guess like English speakers or whoever, like it was all a really diverse class. Like how do you wish that there were more classes that had like more like connections between each other? Like I feel like a lot of like the ELD and SEDI classes are very much separated from other classes, and
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, do you ever feel like there could be more connections?
Yes, definitely. I know. I wish that there was more. One of the clubs, or like a project that a student did in student advocacy the first year that the class ran, was he created like a lunchtime club where students would come and he'd facilitate games, and we brought in food and people would come together just kind of socially. But it was a little more structured. So it wasn't like you came in and just sat awkwardly together. It was kind of like there was a task. But yeah, like classes, unless you're in an elective or maybe like a math class, it's, I know it does feel like there's some segregation in that, with that community. And I think it would help everyone to be around each other a little bit more.
Going on from what Levi said, what would be a class you would add if you had to add one class in our school, in San Rafael High School, or just in high school?
I know.
What would it be?
I know. The principal's like, please stop asking to add classes. No, I mean, I taught that student advocacy class because I wanted to create a program for students to have time and space to work on things they want to change. But I think maybe something like that, like maybe if it was just like only peer mentoring, could be powerful, so that some space for kids to help each other more. But I'm gonna stop trying to create new classes for a little bit.
You were talking about like kind of the segregation you see in some of the classes. Could you say that also translates into AP classes? Because I personally feel like I kind of see that kind of segregation. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't teach AP classes, so tell me, what is it like?
I feel like a lot of kids may feel like they're not capable of taking AP classes. It could come down to like their background or how they were raised, and like maybe like the misconceptions about like intelligence and things like that. I feel like that could really get, minorities, women, other groups to kind of not feel like they're at the same level as other students, right? To take these classes, which is kind of, I feel like, very disheartening, because anybody should be able to take these classes. It's just down to kind of not the mindset, but, how society kind of like makes them feel, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky balance of like encouraging people to challenge and stretch themselves, but then also supporting them when it's challenging. So I think that viewpoint has really kind of been advocated for at the like higher levels at the school and the district, which is great. And then many students will sign up for maybe AP. Now it's AP World in the 10th grade. It's like their first chance to take an AP class. And they might not be fully ready. And I don't mean that like they shouldn't try, but if they're not super passionate about the topic or they're not quite ready, I've seen it anecdotally, and then I think I've read some articles about it where it actually kind of turns students off of school because they then are like, oh, I tried and I can't do it. And so it's kind of like this balance of getting kids ready and then really supporting them. So when it is challenging and when they are being stretched, that they have a place to, maybe it's a support time, a tutoring, like whatever it is, to then also succeed within it, because getting them into the class, you could sign everybody up for it if you wanted, but yeah.
I feel like just introducing these really hard classes in kind of like a manageable way, right? Or like teaching the whole thing about like peer tutoring and the importance of having that as a class itself, right? Just like teaching students like the importance of time management and things like that. And like you are able to do it, you know?
Yeah, that it might just be figuring some of those things out. Yeah, I think that's true. And that maybe that's something that, you wanted to, like, you might have learned some things along the way that you want to share with younger students. Just to, that would be really powerful, I think.
Avani, from what you said, it's kind of interesting because at least from my perspective, from like the class that I'm taking for AP Government, it seems like there's a good amount of brown people, right? In fact, I feel like they're starting brown like it's starting to become a little bit more diverse, right? But I think that like it might just be that I don't look around that much or something, but I feel like things are starting to change, right? So I feel like it can be 50-50 because it depends kind of on the class.
Yeah. And that's great. That's kind of what I was noticing with it. And that's like, I would so much rather a student maybe like get through high school and then see like senior year, this is my time, I'm going to challenge myself and then really grow and blossom when you're ready. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I do feel like there's starting to be a little bit more diversity within that because it seems like many people of color are starting to like go to school like more, and it seems like more students want to actually go to college and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and I want to add on to like what Briza was saying. Like you've also helped a lot of first gen students blossom. Like I know like Javier would talk about his experiences with like you, and it's so nice to have like the connection with like teachers, like talking about teachers, like because they're really important, and also just because it's like nice to like hear different stories, and it's like sharing that is really powerful. And with like what Briza was saying, that it's like it's more diverse. It's also like the teachers, like the more diverse like the topics are, and like the curriculum, and just like teachers in general, it's nice. And that's also I think what's creating more people to want to put their foot forward in not just like their student life, but like also like careers and like things like that. Like when you opened up about like sharing about like how you had like this career change, it really was like, hey, I think it's okay for like me to want to be able to change what like I wanted to major in, because like I think for so long I wanted to do something that was like history involved, and I was like, you know what, I think it'll be okay if I want to change.
Totally.
It's nice to have a relationship with a teacher, I think. I don't know what you guys think.
Honestly, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like knowing that, a person such as yourself or another adult who seems to have kind of like an established, role in school or society, knowing that it wasn't always that way for them in the beginning, or like they took many different turns before that. I feel like it's reassuring, just in life and for life in general. Like,
Yes.
things are never going to stay uniform. Like they will, like nothing is ever linear. I feel like
No.
it takes a while till you figure out what you actually want to pursue. And I feel like you only really figure that out by trying different things. And the things maybe you thought you wanted to pursue, you do that and you realize maybe it's not for me, right?
Totally.
I feel like it's just looking inward and actually putting the work in,
Definitely. Yeah. And just, enjoying finding what you enjoy too. Like, just, I think it's really important to like follow that. And you're always going to have constraints along the way. So, yeah. But definitely you don't have to have it figured out ever.
I feel like in a way you inspired me because before I used to be so set on the future and I still struggle a little bit with that. But your class, ethnic studies, made me want to study the past, right? Because it's very, very important to know the past so things don't repeat again, right? And you made me realize that, it's very important to know the past because you can't really have a good future if you forget what happened before.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to learn from our, sometimes it's mistakes, but sometimes it's also like the power of what people have done before you, the legacy that your ancestors or your people before have set for you, and draw on that power.
I feel like I think a common question we've asked is, how do you empower young students? But I want to ask, how do you suggest we should empower adults who are still trying to find their voice in advocacy and things like that?
That's a good question. I think that I would go back to this like idea of connecting more, maybe with ourselves as adults, and then getting off the phones. I think like people kind of get into their world and they're like the algorithm, and it gets so like kind of pigeonholed into whatever it is they think they're believing. And then it's like, what do you I don't know if you can do advocacy from social media only. And so connecting with people and talking to our neighbors and talking to people, I think that's like, there just needs to be more conversation. And it's hard. I don't always do it very well, but I think for the adults, that would be my biggest recommendation.
Tracking on from that, we talked about what empowers adults and what empowers students, but what empowers you?
You all for sure. Yeah. Like, see, like, again, it's just from the beginning, it's like seeing the transformation, you know? If you had told me freshman year that you three would be doing this podcast and interviewing me, I would have been like, what? Like, that's like the dream. So that definitely empowers me and makes me like keep going and want to do more. And yeah, just connecting with, my family and what, like, all my values. I think that's like, what do I really care? At the end of the day, what do I really care about? And it's like kids and young people. And sometimes it's easy to make decisions when you really know what you care about.
I feel like even this, like just talking with each other openly about like the things that are going on, and then, how we can improve ourselves and empower other people, like that in itself is empowering. I was just thinking of that, like the fact that we are able to do this.
It's huge. Yeah.
Later on, we talked about the government, what's going on in San Francisco and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about how that affected students, but we also want to know, how does that affect the way you teach?
Yeah, sometimes I think it's hard I have to find a balance of like having a space where kids can come and not have to talk about the heavy stuff all the time. I know we kind of talked about that in student advocacy a little bit last year. Like, can you just get a break from that and just be learning about something in school versus like processing it and explaining it. So it's sometimes like I have to try to read where students are and then respond. But I had a kid yesterday who came in and I had like my warm-up question and he looked at me and he's like, no, you got to tell us what's going on, Ms. A lot of my students say Ms. Instead of my full name, and they're like, Ms. No, not yet. You got to break this down for us and tell us like what's happening. And so obviously I was, made sure the class was okay with that. And there were some kids who, wanted to go to wellness after. So it's, giving them their time and space to take care of themselves too. But sometimes you talk about it directly and respond. And then sometimes it's like, you know what, let's keep with our lesson, keep with the normalcy so that that's present too.
Yeah, and also like a quick reminder to our audience who is watching the podcast right now. I want to remind anyone that if they see any ICE presence in Marin or wherever in the county, to please call Marin Rapid Response Network or contact them. Their phone number is 415-991-4545. And please remember that if immigration comes to your door, please do not open the door and keep silent. Yeah, please be careful out there, especially during these rough times. It's very scary sometimes, so please make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And again, the number is 415-991-4545.
Yeah, thank you. That's an important reminder.
And for our last little segment, I wanted to ask about the new board member, since there's some talking about like their new board member for Bret Harte, Canal, and Lincoln. Do you think, since it is a really underserved part of San Rafael, like these neighborhoods, what qualities or priorities do you like all think a new maybe representative could have?
I feel like personally, or a lot of people will agree, that these board members have to be responsive and actually listen to the needs and interests of the people, I feel like not neglecting what the people are actually asking and wanting, right? And I feel like being engaged with the people that they're serving,
This might be a reach, but I feel like there should be a checkup on their background. Because, like, you never really truly know a person, right? And also, I feel like if you're going to try to become a board member, you should probably, like, be passionate about what you do, right? Even for teachers, you have to have that passion because, like, any job that you work, if it does not have a passion behind it, then it might feel a little bit difficult to do.
What do you think, Ms.Verheecke?
I agree. I think especially the board members, it's a big job. It's a lot of power and it's a lot of work that they are not getting paid for. They're, elected. So they should be passionate for sure. I think they should be able to speak with the people. I mean, I think speaking Spanish would be so important if you're serving these neighborhoods, because if you can't just go speak with people, how can you really listen to them? I think that's a really good point. And I think, putting the people, putting the young people in those neighborhoods first, I think is I'm hoping that somebody really kind of understands the needs of, immigrant communities, especially. So I hope that you all think about people and people, it could be a couple degrees away. It might not be someone exactly directly, but maybe someone you've heard about who could fit that. I think that's going to be the important thing, is like get the word out and try to find people. I think the application is due November 14th. So there's a little bit of time, but not a whole lot to find someone who's really passionate and could be a good representative.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this information. And I think just for like final questions, does anyone want to ask any like follow-ups to Ms. Verheecke or anything? Any comments? Maybe.
Keep going with what you're doing, right? Because believe it or not, you're changing a lot of student lives. Like, you've had an impact on all of us, right? Like I said before, you were the one who helped me find my best friend, right? What you do it's a good thing, right? And you've helped a lot of Latinos, a lot of new people who have come here, right? When I came here, because I left in Mexico for a whole year again.
Yeah.
And then I came here not knowing anybody. Like, I had no friends the first year of high school. You helped me find my people. So keep going with that, because we love you, honestly.
Aw.
I feel like the same thing that Briza said, right? Like, I feel like people they kind of don't pay attention to it, but teachers do play a really big role in students' lives, right? They change the way that we think and how we learn things. They change kind of how we perceive things sometimes, right? Also, I feel like not all people, but some people may be very like passive about their identity, or they may not think about it as deeply as they could, right? I feel like subjects such as ethnic studies are just like learning about like dominant and counter narratives and all these things about identity. Like, it really helps a person, you know, kind of connect with themselves in a way, right?
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, like I want to reason what I'm saying, like you really do have changed lives, and I know it definitely changed my high school whole like career. I think you were the first teacher I've ever opened up to, especially like my freshman year. I definitely was at a really hard place, and I'm really thankful.
Yeah. You've come so far. But like I hope that what you know is that like this is all you. It's just like, do you have the vehicle to do it? You are incredible. And I'm glad that you're like being the full incredible person that you're meant to be. And it's just that we see that is that we know that's in there. How do we just help you blossom?
Thank you so much for being on this podcast with us. And with that, we're going to wrap up. So thank you to the Tay Radio community. And if you liked today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it or can hear it. And please follow us on social media at Tay Radio Marin for updates. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And thank you guys, Briza, Avani, and Ms.Verheecke.
Thank you for having me. It's really special.